Hey guys, this is Balu from Balu Prime and once again welcome you all back for an exciting tutorial. In this tutorial I will show you how we can create this kind of mini copter flying scenes in Adobe After Effects using Element 3D plugin easily. So hope you guys will find the tutorial useful, but before going to that, if you end up liking this video, please click on that like button to share this content, and if you are new to this channel, consider subscribing my channel and support me. And by the way, if you like 3D simulation videos, you can check out my second channel. I will leave a link in the description for my second channel, and also I will pin that channel link in the comment section. So now without any further ado, let's start today's video. So here you can see I'm using Adobe After Effects 2020. Okay, so now let's start this by importing a footage onto this project panel. So for that, right click on this project panel, import, select your file, or else you can directly drop your footage onto this project panel. So now again select your footage and drop it onto this composition icon here so that it creates a new composition with the footage properties. Okay, so now let me disable the sound. Now let me show you the preview of this. Press 0 for RAM preview. So you can see this is a handheld shot where you can clearly see the camera is not steady. We got some movements here. So in order to place 3D objects where the camera is not steady in the footage, first we need to track that footage. So select the footage, come to the tracker options. If you're not finding the tracker options, go to this window and enable tracker from here, and being selected your footage layer, click on this track camera. So it starts analyzing our footage and gives us some tracking points when it is done. So here you can see our tracking is done and we got some track points here. So now be on the first frame and let me select this bunch of track points here. Just hold left mouse key and simply drag on all the track points here like this. Now right click and select this create solid and camera. So you'll get a solid layer created here. If the perspective of this solid layer is not matching with the footage, we can adjust it manually. So select the track solid, press R on the keyboard for rotation options, and from here we can adjust the perspective of the solid as per our footage. So I think -1, let it be 0. Okay, so now let me increase the scaling. So press S and increase the scaling here. Okay, so I think the perspective is matching. So if you're not able to clearly view this through solid, we can apply an effect called grid. So let me go to this window and enable effects and presets, and let me look for grid. Select this grid and apply onto this track solid, and let me change the color to red, and also let me increase the border value here. Okay, so we can see through this track solid. Okay, so now let me check the tracking here. So press 0 for RAM preview. So here you can see our tracking is pretty much solid here. This track solid is staying in its position. Okay, nice. So this is well and good, fine. So now let's add a solid layer for element 3D. So go to this layer options, new create a solid. Let me rename this as element and hit OK. Now again come to this effects and presets and look for element. So this is third party plugin, we need to download it separately. So select this element and drop it onto this element layer. So now click on this scene setup. So here you can see we got a new window open to work in element 3D. So now let's import our model here. So go to this import and select your model, use your preferred model here. So let me select this bottom and hit OK, and let me click on this normalize size. Okay, so one thing we need to remember is we need this rotating blades to be separate, and we want this body to be separate. Okay, so make sure we got this rotating blade separate here. So if you want to use the same model which I'm using, I will leave a link in the description for that. You can download that from Sketchfab. Okay, fine. So now let me duplicate this once again, duplicate this model. So from this I will hide out this rotating blade, and from this I will hide out this body, so that we will get the body here and we'll get this rotating blades here. Okay, so now let me rename this to body, fine, and let me rename this to rotating. Okay, fine. So now we need to place this pivot point at the center of this rotating blade. So we want the pivot point to be at its center. So now let me move on to this top view here. Okay, let me zoom it up and let me click here, and let's place the pivot point to its center. So I think this is center only. Let me change this to front view, and let me place this here, and also let me move to this right. So I think it is at the center only. Okay, fine. So once the pivot point is placed, we can click on this button. Okay, so now the pivot point stays in that position only. Fine. So now let me apply some material onto this. So here I will be using this Pro Shaders too. So let me select this wood and let me apply wood onto this both thing. Okay, and let me change this UV to box perspective, and for rotating also I will change this to box perspective. Fine, nice. So now select this body, right click, set it to channel 1. Now select this rotating one, right click, set it to channel 2. So body is in channel 1 and rotating blade is in channel 2. So both these are in group 1 only. So you remember this one, both are in group 1 and body is in aux channel 1 and rotating is in aux channel 2. Fine. So now hit OK. So this object is in group 1, so we will work on this group 1. So expand this one, come to this create group null, expand this and click on this create button. So we'll get a group 1 null created here. So now select this track solid layer, press P on the keyboard for position values, select those position values, go to this edit, copy. Now select this group 1 null, again press P on the keyboard, select this position values, edit and paste them. So we got object here. So if I play this, we can say this object will stick on its position, but the perspective is not matching. So we need to adjust this manually. So select this group 1 null, press R on the keyboard, and now let's adjust this manually. So I think this perspective is fine, and let's increase the scaling of this. So select this element. So this is in group 1. So select this particle look and let me increase this particle look to 20. Okay, so this much is enough I think, and let me see. So it passes here, goes here. So I think we need to move this aside here. So I will place this. Let me place this here. Okay, so if I play this, it is staying in its position only. Fine. So now let's work on this aux channel. So expand this aux channel. You can say still we are working in group 1. Okay, come to this aux channels, expand this channel 1 and also expand this channel 2. So now be on the first frame, enable keyframe for this position Y. If you are getting confused, you can enable all the keyframes here. So I will enable all the keyframes here. So enable all the keyframes for this channel 2 also. So make sure you are on starting frame here. So now move forward like 8 seconds in the timeline and select this element layer, press U on the keyboard for keyframes, and let me expand this and add a keyframe once again. So now come to this starting frame, and now we can play with the values of this Y position. So channel 1 position Y, I will change this to minus 0.8. okay, and again channel 2 minus 0.8. So make sure the values which you are using for channel 1 should be same in channel 2 also. So channel position Y is minus 0.8, so channel 2 position Y is minus 0.8. So now let's change the position in x-axis. So let me change this channel 1 position x-axis to minus 2 so that it will be here, and again change this channel position to minus 2. Okay, so now if you play this, we can say we got this kind of animation here. Nice. So now let's work on the rotating blades. So these rotating blades are in channel 2. So now let me edit this channel 1 and come to this rotation values. So be on the first frame, enable keyframe for this rotation Y. Okay, so now move to the last frame and change this value to 250 here. Okay, so now if I play this, we can say we got our animation done here. Fine. So now we can hide out this track solid layer, hide it out, and now let's work on the shadows. So without shadows this won't look good, so now let's work on shadows. So again select this element layer, go to the scene setup, and now let's add a ground plane. So go to this create plane, and scaling I will increase this to 50, or else let me increase this to 25 and 25. Okay, so here I will show you how to add reflections and how to add shadow also. First I will show you how to add reflection. So for reflections I will select this physical material, and let me apply this chrome material onto this ground plane. So still the reflections are not there, so now select this chrome material, or else you can select this plane model, come to this reflect mode and change it to mirror surface. So now we can see we got the reflections here. So if you want to reduce this glossiness we can do that. So select this chrome, scroll down, so here you can see we got this glossiness value. So let me reduce this glossiness to 75. Okay, so we got some blur in the plane. So now scroll down, or else you can directly click on this advanced settings and just enable this matte reflections. Okay, so you'll get reflections visible without that plane. So now hit OK, or else let me add this to aux channel 3. Okay, fine. So now if I play this, you can see we got the reflections here. So now I will show you how to add the shadows. So again for shadows, let's go to the scene setup. Now let me select this and apply this matte shadow. So we have applied this matte shadow material, or else you can select any of the material here. Select this chrome, come to this advanced settings. Here just click on this matte shadow, just enable it. It works as a matte shadow material. So now hit OK. So we are not finding shadows here still. So in order to get shadows in this scene we need to add a light in the scene. So go to this layer options, new light. So here I will select the spotlight and make sure this cast shadows is enabled, and intensity let it be 200 and hit OK. So here you can see we got the light in the scene. Still we are not finding shadows here. So now select this element, scroll down, come to this render settings, shadows, and enable it. So now we can see we got the shadows here. So samples you can increase, so I will change this to 12. Fine. So now let me select this spotlight and let me play with the angle here. So I think this is fine, or else let it be here like this only. And let me come to the settings, light options, shadow darkness I will reduce to 35. So 35 is enough, or else let me increase to 45. Fine. And shadow diffuse, this acts as a feather, so I'll increase this to, let me say, 150. So this is looking good. So now let me see this once again. So press 0 for ramp preview. So now we got shadows in the scene here, but here the model is getting dark as it is nearing the light. So what we can do, we can add another light. So let me go to this layer, new light, and now select this parallel light. Just disable this cast shadow options, and intensity let me change this to 100. Okay, so now we can see it is looking bit better. So I think I need to increase the shadow darkness a bit. So now let me increase the shadow darkness to 65. Fine. And finally let me select this element once again, scroll down, come to this ambient occlusion and enable this ambient occlusion, and intensity let me change this to 10, and the samples I will increase this to 32. Fine. So if I play this now, you can say we have created this mini copter flying scene easily in Adobe After Effects using Element 3D plugin. So hope you guys have learned something new from this tutorial. If you have learned anything new, please like, share and subscribe my channel to support me. So we'll meet in the next video. Until then, signing off. Take care. Bye.